You're watching Updates at Noon. Well, making the headlines today. Well, parties involved in GE15 are responsible for supporters' actions. Well, UN unveils a global early warning system for disasters. Well, Barisan Nasional (BN) launched its manifesto for the 15th general election, Perancangan Amal dan Usaha, or PADU, in an effort to secure the mandate to form the next federal government. With its theme of stability and prosperity, the manifesto contains 99 practices to propel the country towards developed nation status. Well, according to BN Chairman Dato Sri Dr. Ahmad Zahid Hamidi, PADU was a new deal, serious and rational plan based on clear targets. PADU, among others, offered assistive basic income scheme, which is credited every month automatically to all households with a monthly income below 2,000 ringgit by the year 2025, in addition to continuing other assistance programs for various eligible groups. Well, BN will provide a 2% income tax cut targeted at the M40 group for those earning between 50,000 ringgit and 100,000 ringgit per year. It will also address the challenges of food insecurity, over-reliance on imports, and costly and ineffective food supply chains. BN Manifesto PADU was launched in line of last night in a video streamed live on Facebook. In reaction to the launched manifesto, BN Treasurer General Dato Sri Hishamuddin Tun Hussein said BN candidates need to understand the coalition's manifesto and disseminate it clearly to voters to avoid it becoming empty promises. Well, he said it was important that candidates and party machinery study the manifesto in detail so as the manifesto is seen to be something that is serious. The BN candidate for Sembrong said if the manifesto is not understood, BN would be equated with other parties that simply promise things that could not be delivered at the end.
Biar kita teliti dalam mungkin satu hari je lagi, kita akan pastikan gerakan di semua parlimen kita bergerak senada seirama kerana ini janji kepada rakyat dan bukan satu permainan.
He was met after launching the Simpang Rungam BN election machinery in Kluang in the presence of Johor BN Chairman Dato Sri Hasni Mohamad and Johor Menteri Besar Dato On Hafiz Ghazi. Well, parties involved directly in the GE15 must bear the responsibility of managing the sentiments of their supporters to ensure that an incident like that in Tenom, Sabah during nomination day last Saturday does not recur. Inspector General of Police Tan Sri Akril Sani Abdullah Sani said candidates and campaign managers must be aware of this matter to ensure untoward incidents do not happen. While speaking to Bernama, Tan Sri Akril Sani said what happened in Tenom was an example of how uncontrolled supporters could threaten public order and become a security concern. Well, he said PDRM would not compromise with threats that affect safety and public order, adding stern action would be taken against whoever deliberately violates the law. Well, such action is to ensure that everyone can perform their duties in a safe environment and free from provocation. The Johor Immigration Department foiled an attempt by a syndicate which also involved the department's officers to smuggle in 12 Indonesians through the Customs Immigration and Quarantine Complex, or CIQ, at Bangunan Sultan Iskandar BSI checkpoint early yesterday. Well, its director, Baharudin Tahir, said the 9 men and 3 women, aged between 25 and 40, were in 2 vehicles and traveling from Singapore when they were stopped at the CIQ vehicle lane at 7:20 a.m. Well, he also said 2 local men believed to be the transporters, aged 52 and 24, and working for the syndicate, were also detained. Initial investigations revealed that the foreigners claimed that they had paid about 10 million rupiahs, which is about 3,000 ringgit, to the Tekong to manage their entry into Malaysia.
hasil siasatan awal juga mendapati 10 warga negara Indonesia yang ditahan khususnya di bawah Seksyen 61C Akta Immigration 1959-63 kerana tiada sebarang endorsement di dalam pasport mereka dan memasuki semula Malaysia setelah diusir. Kesemua suspek ditahan reman selama 14 hari untuk siasatan lanjut.
Baharudin said it was impossible for all of the foreigners to pass through the immigration counter at the CIQ without the aid and involvement of immigration officers. They said the department was tracking down the officers believed to be involved in the smuggling syndicate and action would be taken against them. Baharudin added that the case was being investigated under Section 26A of the Anti-Trafficking in Persons and Anti-Smuggling of Migrants 2007 and Section 55A, subsection 1 of the Immigration Act. A coconut board that will be responsible for strengthening the sustainable development of the plant in the country will be established. And Deputy Agriculture and Food Industries Minister Dato Sri Ahmad Hamzah said the plan to establish the board is following the importance of coconut as the country's fourth most important industrial crop after palm oil, rice and rubber.
Kalau sekarang kita ada lembaga nenas, tapi kita ke arah tersebut dah. Tapi kita sekarang dalam peringkat perancangan dan membuat banyak program-program untuk kita mendapatkan maklum balas daripada semua pihak. Bukan saja stakeholders, tapi kita sekarang tengah mengumpul apa juga maklumat-maklumat yang perlu. Sebelum apa cadangan yang kita akan angkat kepada kerajaan.
Dato Sri Ahmad said this at the 50th International Cocotech Conference and Exhibition 2022, known as Cocotech 2022, which is an excellent platform to exchange ideas and best practices as well as policy recommendations to better understand the issues and challenges faced by the coconut industry. On Cocotech 2022, he said it is a meaningful event to show that Malaysia emphasizes on advancing sustainable agriculture and food security agenda. Felda is targeting to collect about 30 million ringgit from contributions made by its land scheme settlers, workforce and agencies by the year-end for the Wakaf Felda initiative. Its chairman, Tan Sri Idris Juso, said the total collection up to last 6th October amounted to 25.75 million ringgit following the fund's launch in November 2021, and the amount was expected to increase as the collection was still going on. Well, he said since the fund is a corporate endowment fund, it can only be used from the profit reaped, adding 60% of the collection will go back to this fund for it to grow and to the balance be used for welfare and educational purposes and to assist the poor.
Ialah perubahan minda broker. Kalau dahulunya broker merupakan golongan yang sentiasa meminta, sekarang kita lihat broker lebih menjadi masyarakat yang suka memberi. Tahun lalu kita kutip sedekah 300 sebanyak 9.9 juta ringgit. Tahun ini kita dah kutip 7 juta dana wakaf Felda dan masih bertambah lagi. Dan saya lihat broker telah banyak berubah. Inilah yang saya nak lihat. Dia katakan kita boleh mengubah masa depan kita.
He said this after officiating at the Jom Masuk Rancangan event held at Dewan Semai Bakti of Felda Neram 2 in Kemaman. The event also saw the presentation of the coding and robotic replicas to 10 schools in the Terengganu Felda region and token of appreciation to the biggest contributor to the Wakaf Fund. Well, Thailand, Cambodia, as well as several European countries are participating in the Foodie International Conference 2022 that runs for 3 days, beginning yesterday at University Technology Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur. The conference discusses food security and integrity issues apart from the challenges of innovative transformations in food processing industry in the region. Well, the effort would open up more job opportunities and revitalize the economy post-COVID-19 pandemic.
Peluang seperti ini untuk menghasilkan kerjasama seperti dengan rakan-rakan daripada peringkat antarabangsa dan industri amat penting bagi negara dan bagi membolehkan kerajaan menerusi Kementerian Sains, Teknologi dan Inovasi seperti contohnya untuk mengenengahkan bakat-bakat tempatan dalam bidang-bidang teknologi tinggi bagi ke arah negara sebagai sebuah negara berteknologi tinggi menjelang tahun 2030 di bawah dasar sains, teknologi dan inovasi negara.
Well, the conference involves university researchers, students of higher learning institutes and non-governmental organizations. In a foreign segment, Indonesia child deaths caused by contaminated cough syrup rise to 195. Well, the United Nations has unveiled a 5-year plan to build a global early warning system for deadly and costly extreme weather events amplified by climate change. Well, UN Chief Antonio Guterres said the price tag, a relatively modest $3.1 billion or less than 50%, or rather 50 cents per person, is a small price to pay for proven methods that can save thousands, if not millions, of lives. Well, Guterres announced the matter at the COP27 climate summit in Egypt. Well, even as climate exchange extreme weather is multiplying, half the world's countries lack advanced early warning systems that can save lives. Now, countries with inadequate infrastructure see, on average, 8 times greater mortality from disasters than countries with strong measures in place. Now, proper early warning systems for floods, droughts, heat waves, cyclones, or other disasters allow for planning that minimizes adverse impacts. Guterres also warned that nations must cooperate or face collective suicide in the fight against climate change. He urged the world to ramp up the transition to renewable energy and for richer polluting nations to come to the aid of poorer countries least responsible for heat-trapping emissions.
The two largest economies, the United States and China, have a particular responsibility to join efforts to make this pact a reality. And this is our only hope of meeting our climate goals. Humanity has a choice: cooperate or perish. It is either a climate solidarity pact or a collective suicide pact.
Well, primary schools will reopen in India's capital, New Delhi, this week, and curbs will be lifted on certain construction activities after pollution levels improved to the very poor category from severe. Now, work from work home order for Delhi government staff was also revoked, and government offices already reopened from yesterday with full capacity. Well, previously, the government announced the closure of primary schools and work from home for 50% of its staff as the pollution levels in Delhi reach to severe category. Well, residents in the capital have been waking up in recent weeks to hazy mornings with the sky a shade of grey and a thick layer of smog envelops the city in winter as cold, heavy air traps construction dust, vehicle emissions and smoke from crop stubble burning in neighboring states, causing a surge in respiratory illnesses among its 20 million people. Now, the air quality index in nearly all monitoring stations in the city was between 300 to 400, or in the very poor category yesterday, which experts say leads to respiratory illness on prolonged exposure. However, it was an improvement on last week's reading of 400 to 500 in the index, which is described as severe. Now, the System of Air Quality and Weather Forecasting and Research said on its website that air quality could worsen later this week. Indonesia said the number of child deaths from kidney failure or damage linked to harmful substances found in syrup medicine has risen to 195. Now, the Southeast Asian country has seen a spike in cases of acute kidney injury since August, prompting a probe and subsequent ban on all liquid medicine sales. Now, more than 320 cases of acute kidney injury have been recorded in provinces across the country, and 27 patients are still in hospital. The health ministry said most of the children affected are under the age of 5. And the new death toll is up from 133 deaths confirmed on 21st October. Well, tests found most of the deaths were caused by syrups containing excessive amounts of ethylene glycol and diethylene glycol, two compounds used in industrial products such as antifreeze. Authorities have since been importing an antidote for acute kidney injury, with 246 vials obtained so far, the majority donated by Singapore and Australia, and the drug has shown significant results. Indonesia's National Food and Drug Agency last month named 5 syrups that contain dangerous levels of harmful substances and ordered the products to be removed from the market and destroyed. Police have launched an investigation into 3 local pharmaceutical companies, and 2 of them have temporarily lost their license to produce syrup medicines. Well, at least 7 people were killed yesterday when the bus on which they were traveling collided with 2 trucks and burst into flames in eastern Turkey. Well, according to the country's health ministry, another 11 people were injured in the accident in Tutak, which is an agri province near the borders with Iran and Armenia. Now, President Recep Tayyip Erdogan said 7 of the country's citizens have lost their lives in the bus which caught fire after it overturned. Well, the passenger bus hit 2 trucks in Tutak, causing an enormous fire that engulfed all 3 vehicles and covered the highway with thick black smoke. Now, numerous firefighters rushed to the scene to put out the massive blaze. Agri-Province Governor Osman Varol said initial reports indicate that 2 trucks were involved in a collision that caused a pileup dragging in the bus. Now, despite safety measures and constant warnings, accidents are still quite common in Turkey. On Sunday, 3 people were killed when a passenger bus overturned in the northern province of Bolu, and 16 others were injured. A U.S. citizen who lived in Iraq for 2 years was shot dead in central Baghdad yesterday, with the motive not immediately clear. Now, the attack took place in Kerana, a lively commercial district in the heart of the Iraqi capital. Now, the body was taken to a hospital in the capital's Kerana district, and initial hospital reports indicated that the death was caused by a bullet. Now, a police source said the victim was carrying an identity card showing his job as an English teacher. Another police source said armed men in a vehicle opened fire at an SUV carrying the victim and shot him dead. Iraq's state news agency INA said that the country's armed forces commander-in-chief gave an order to form an investigative committee into the killing of the U.S. citizen. Now, the U.S. State Department was aware of reports of an American killed in Iraq and was looking into them. Armed attacks on foreign nationals are uncommon in Iraq despite the spread of weapons among civilians. While U.S. bases and interests in Iraq have been frequently targeted in previous attacks, deadly assaults have been becoming increasingly rare. Now, in March 2021, a U.S. civilian contractor died of a heart attack while sheltering from a rocket attack on an Iraqi base hosting troops from the U.S.-led coalition fighting the Daesh group. Apple has warned customers would face longer wait times for iPhones with the holiday season approaching after COVID restrictions in central China temporarily impacted production at the world's largest factory producing the smartphone. Now, Foxconn, Apple's principal subcontractor, locked down its massive factory in Zhengzhou last month after a spike in infections in line with China's zero-COVID policy. Now, panicking workers last week had fled the site on foot in the wake of allegations of poor conditions at the facility, which employs hundreds of thousands of workers. The California-based Apple said in a statement, COVID-19 restrictions have temporarily impacted the primary iPhone 14 Pro and iPhone 14 Pro Max assembly facility located in Zhengzhou, China. Now, the facility is currently operating at significantly reduced capacity. Foxconn is China's biggest private sector employer, with more than 1 million people working across the country in about 30 factories and research institutes. But Zhengzhou is the Taiwanese company's crown jewel, churning out iPhones in quantities not seen anywhere else. Now, Foxconn is now working with the government in a concerted effort to stamp out the pandemic and resume production to its full capacity as quickly as possible. coming up in sports, VAR to make M-League debut in Malaysia Cup and FA Cup next season. Well, Malaysia's Speedy Tigers scored a convincing 4-2 victory over Japan in their final round-robin match last night to book their berth in the final of the Sultan Azlan Shah Cup at the Azlan Shah Hockey Stadium in Ipoh, Perak. Well, Malaysia will face South Korea in the final on Thursday. Well, coach Arul Selvaraj's Chargers were in total command of the match right from the start to keep the Japanese on the edge, and deservedly took the lead in the 7th minute of the first quarter through a penalty corner strike by Muhammad Razi Abdul Rahim. Well, just a minute into the second quarter, Malaysia were awarded another penalty corner and Muhammad Razi stepped up to make it 2-0. But jolted by the second goal, Japan doubled their effort to reduce the deficit through Kaito Tanaka in the 22nd minute. However, the Speedy Tigers regained their composure in the third quarter, and it was not long before Nick Rosemi made it 3-1 in the 30th minute. But 4 minutes later, Japan scored their second of the night through Shota Yamada to make it 3-2 in favour of Malaysia. Well, the Speedy Tigers moved into top gear in the fourth quarter to make it 4-2 through a field goal by Nur Shafiq Sumantri in the 45th minute, and Japan looked like a spent force after that. Arul Selvaraj was certainly elated by the performance of his boys and the fighting spirit shown throughout the match tonight.
The boys shown a huge character to fight till the end. Even we were 4-2 up. Last 3-4 minutes, Japan had to score 3 goals, yet they went fighting. So that is a brand new Malaysian team. That's our new style of fighting until the end, even when we are leading. So the intent, the message to the boys is, whatever the score is, you go out fighting.
Well, the Football Association of Malaysia, FAM, are ready to introduce video assistant referee or VAR technology in the Malaysia League or M-League next year, starting with the FA Cup and Malaysia Cup competitions. Well, FAM Deputy President Dato' Muhammad Yusof Mahadi said they are currently researching and holding discussions to realise the ambition, which will see the national football arena take another step forward. Well, for now, Dato' Muhammad Yusof said FAM is only discussing whether to have VAR in 2023 for the FA Cup and Malaysia Cup, but not yet for the league competition.
Setakat ini Esko semua sudah bersetuju untuk kita mengadakan 2 game itu untuk adakan VAR. Itu bergantung nanti kepada jawatan kuasa teknikal pula lah, untuk yang diterajui oleh Datuk Sifat Sundram untuk melihat sama ada kita boleh capai target kita untuk mengadakan VAR tu pada kedua-dua perlawanan itu tadi.
Well, recently, FAM held a meeting with 2 companies, Hawkeye Innovations and Media Pro, to obtain important details and data about the VAR technology that is widely used internationally. Hawkeye Innovations and Media Pro are no strangers to VAR technology, as their expertise is much sought after in the top leagues and Europe and continental tournaments. Well, Dato' Siva Sundaram, meanwhile, said some of the factors that need to be taken into consideration include the high cost that can reach up to millions of ringgit, the quality of internet access at the venues, and the capability in terms of equipment involving the broadcasting aspect. As such, Dato' Siva Sundaram, who is also the FAM Deputy President, said the use of VAR for the FA Cup and Malaysia Cup may be confined to certain matches such as the semi-finals and finals.
Very important is the cost. Like what Avinash told just now, whether we have done research with all the stadiums. You know, that is already in our pipeline. And before we start everything, the costing. Expecting, say, next year the games, say about 300 games. According to our discussion with both these people, providers, I think we have to have nearly about $4 or $5 million.
Well, he said FAM also needs to discuss this matter with the Malaysian Football League because MFL are the governing body of the M League, adding that some local referees would be sent to attend the VAR course for 6 to 9 months. Well, holders Real Madrid will face English Premier League side Liverpool once again in the Champions League last 16, a repeat of last season's final, while Paris Saint-Germain will take on German champions Bayern Munich. Well, Madrid edged Liverpool in a tense final in May thanks to a Vinicius Junior strike. Now, the pair were pulled out of the hat in Monday's draw in Nyon, Switzerland, having also met in the 2017-18 final, which the Spanish side won as well. Madrid have not lost any of their last 6 games against Liverpool in the Champions League, 5 victories and 1 draw, winning the 2 finals and progressing in their only knockout stage tie in the quarterfinals of the 2020-21 season in these 6 meetings. Now, one of the pre-tournament favorites, Bayern and PSG, will not go all the way as the duo meet next in a season that could be veteran PSG forward Lionel Messi's last chance to add to his 4 crowns won with Barcelona. The English Premier League sides Tottenham Hotspur and Chelsea have been given tough assignments despite winning their groups, taking on Serie A champions AC Milan and the Bundesliga's Borussia Dortmund respectively. Premier League champions Manchester City, who were unbeaten in the group stages as they chase their first ever European Cup crown, will take on German side RB Leipzig. Meanwhile, Barcelona and Manchester United will meet in the Europa League playoffs for a place in the competition's last 16. Spanish side Barcelona met the 2017 Europa League winners twice in the 2009 and 2011 Champions League final, winning on both occasions, while United lost both legs of the 2018-19 European Cup quarter-final meeting between the pair. Well, United finished second in their Europa League group this season behind another Spanish team, Real Sociedad, and meet a Barca side that missed out on the Champions League last 16 after finishing third in their group behind Bayern Munich and Inter Milan. The 8 group runners-up from the Europa League face 8 third-placed sides from the Champions League group stages, with the winners of the 2-legged playoffs progressing to the last 16. So the pick of the other ties sees 6-time winners Sevilla facing Dutch side PSV Eindhoven, Serie A giants Juventus take on Ligue 1 team Nantes, while Jose Mourinho's AS Roma face RB Salzburg. The first legs of the ties will take place on 16 February with the return match a week later on 23rd February. And that concludes today's edition of Update at Noon. In our top story, parties directly involved in GE15 must be responsible for supporters' actions. Till then, Yang SAHIH di RTM, #MyPRU15. Thanks for watching. I'm Muhammad Amin Carlos, and stay tuned to TV 2. Salam Keluarga Malaysia.